My story is that I'm a scientist and I do research on the topics of neuroscience, psychology, and artificial intelligence. And oh boy, do I have my hands full ever since ChatGPT dropped. I assume each and every one of you has played around with it, and when you play around with it, you see it gives human-like responses. Yes, sometimes it makes stupid mistakes, but humans also do stupid mistakes. And as a scientist, then my questions are the following. First, the output is sometimes similar, but is it what's going on inside also similar? Second, what is the effect of these technologies on our mind? And third, how can we use these technologies better? And today I will ask these three questions with a focus on creativity. And you know, sometimes it's really frustrating to talk about creativity because people have these massive preconceptions about creativity. Once I was giving a talk, I think a nice talk to teachers to say how we should enhance creativity in schools. And then a hand goes up, there's a male teacher saying, "Why do you talk about creativity? We have enough of these bad singers and drunken artists. We need software developers and electricians." Yes, we do, but we want our software developers and electricians also to be creative. And not in the sense that you go to your software developer with a task and they come back, "I couldn't do it, but here's a poem." Not in that sense, but rather we want every person in every field to be creative in the sense that they can come up with new solutions within their field. So this means that creativity is not confined to arts or music, it's in every field, whatever you do. Creativity is about the ability to come to new solutions. And when you then look at GPT-like systems, then you see that, hey, they can do this creative stuff, right? You could go ask them for a marketing text. You could ask for a marketing text meant for young soccer players. You could use it to write emails. You could write emails in the style of Shakespeare. You could write poems if you are in a romantic mood. And the question then becomes, okay, these tools can generate creative output, but are they doing it the same way? And the first point I want to make is that these tools, although they deliver sometimes similar and fascinating creative output, they are missing an essential component, which is their internal component of creativity. Let me explain. So I find it very useful to think of creativity as having an external and an internal component. The external component means that to be creative, you need to know about your field. You need to have knowledge pieces to combine. And this applies really to every kind of creativity. For example, we all think that Picasso is creative, right? But what you might not know is that he really collected arts, he loved arts, he knew a lot about art history, he used bits and pieces from the works of other artists in his own famous paintings. Similarly, J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, was an avid reader. She knew a lot, she thought a lot about all of these issues that eventually came together in Harry Potter. And if you want to create a startup, you want to come up with a new idea, you need to know what other people are doing, you need to know what are the existing technologies, what do people need, how can I actually implement these things, how can I sell my ideas, etc. That is the external part of creativity. And that is something that GPT clearly has, right? It has compressed all of the textual knowledge of the world, and thus you can consult it for this part. However, we humans, we also have this internal part of creativity. And to understand that, think about why did Picasso do it? Why did J.K. Rowling do it? it's not that they were prompted to do it, right? Rather, they had this internal drive to not only collect arts, not only read books, but to do art, but to create books. And I guess each and every one of you can relate to that, you want to change the world, you want to do something amazing. It's something that comes from within. And tools like ChatGPT do not have that component. Yes, they can be prompted. Sometimes these prompts can be complex, and sometimes based on these prompts, processes can happen that take for a long time, but still, in the beginning, there's a prompt. If left alone, if not prompted, there's nothing going on inside GPT. But if left alone, not prompted, there will be ideas in your brains, sometimes amazing new ideas. And that is the key difference. And I think you can very well relate to that, the difference between the external and the internal creativity, by thinking about how you use actually GPT, right? I assume you use it the way that you have an idea, you want to achieve something, you want to do something, and then you use GPT to collect ideas, to get something done, right? So you have the internal part, and you use GPT-like systems as the external part. However, here's a problem also then, because fundamentally you could think also that there are people, and we know that there are people like that, who use it differently. Let's say there's a student. Now, the teacher gives the task to the student, and the student outsources this task to GPT. Now, the internal part of creativity came from the teacher. The external part came from GPT. And the student got exactly nothing. And I mean, if you don't like to think about students, let's think about a marketing person in some company who also might think that he or she is clever when she or he takes the idea of the boss and uses GPT to actually do that task. Again, if the internal part comes from another person, the external part from GPT, then you do nothing to your creativity, meaning that actually, eventually, you will lose it. So, there are people, I guess like most of you here, who use GPT to boost creativity. But it could also be used to lose creativity. And the important question is then, hey, what distinguishes these people? And at the first approximation, one could say that, what distinguishes them is how much they have learned to actually use their internal creativity and to protect it from all kinds of distractions. Because, you see, there's this problem with creativity that it's hard. I mean, most of you know it. You want to create something. You actually want to achieve these amazing things. You work hard, and then you find yourself watching videos of cute baby animals. This happens to people, and it shows that, we have this drive inside us to actually create new stuff, to deliver new content, come up with amazing ideas. But we also have this other drive to avoid work, who basically says, chill. I don't need to do that. We don't need to do that today, right? And then you have this basically competition within each person between these different drives. And when I think about it, then the question becomes, okay, which one of these two we want to support with technology? And I think if put like that, the answer is really obvious, right? We want to enhance this part. We want to enhance this creativity drive. But there's a tiny catch. The tiny catch is that companies and big corporations have already figured out how to make money off this other drive that wants to avoid work. And that is the very basically current prevalent business model, right? That you try to hook people to your content so that in principle they would avoid mental work. And thus, this kind of a business model works against creativity. So think about TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. Of course, they can be used in a really good manner to create, to share your ideas, but of course, most of the stuff that's done there is consuming. And we all know how good these platforms are for hooking people inside. And again, I assume most of you are not hooked to that kind of content, but if a person is hooked, then of course he or she has less resources and less time for developing this internal creativity. And then the problem I see is that tools like GPT can be used not only to avoid mental work, but actually to get rid of mental work, right? Again, so think of a student. So currently the student might be like, let's say, 5 hours in TikTok, but then he or she still needs to do 1 hour of homework. But now, he or she could be 6 hours in TikTok and use GPT to do the homework. And again, I'm not saying that we should not use these tools. We should. We should use them to outsource some of the tasks, but we should always stay in control and understand that there's a thin line. If we outsource everything, then we also have outsourced creativity, and we don't want that. And for example, think about children, right? Children, they haven't still developed their passion. They have creativity, but they haven't really understood how to use it. They don't know how to protect it. And then if these technologies basically make them avoid mental work, then they will never develop it. They will never find and realize their potential. So, in short, if technology is used in that way to help avoid mental work, then it can suffocate internal creativity. And I have done my part in going to schools, talking to children, talking to parents, teachers, grown-ups about this topic. And that, there's another way, and there's a way how to use our creativity. But what I have realized is that we cannot really put the burden on a teacher or a parent or a child because, they can think, oh, I want to be creative, but it's really, really hard if the technology around you basically tries to steal your attention, hijack it, and use it for their own platforms. So, that's why I'm here today. To say that eventually we need to get back to the root cause, which is the business model. And I'm here to tell you that I think there's a big opportunity here. We need to create technologies that directly support this internal drive of creativity. And I'm pretty sure that eventually we have to do it because the end users will figure it out. They will understand that there are technologies that are harmful to them, and they will ask, why don't I have technologies that can support my creativity and my potential? But we could already do it now. And the basic principle really is that these technologies that we need should always prioritize internal creativity. The main goal of these technologies should be to support the internal creativity of people. And it would be different depending on whether the end user is a child or end user is a grown-up, right? For a child who does not have the passion yet, the technology needs to be more like offering different bits and pieces that might be interesting, trying to see what could be interesting for that particular brain, and then helping to answer all the why and how questions. And in principle, GPT-like systems can be used for that. And for teenagers and for grown-ups, I think it's fine if these technologies kind of contain some of social media, for example. However, again, the starting point should be that the technology, when you open the app, it asks basically you, hey, user, what do you want to achieve today? And the technology is in your service to help you find and achieve these goals. And if the technology is good, then perhaps we can actually find the right moment where we can offer to the user some of these videos of cute baby animals, right? And so in the end, do I know how to do these technologies? No. However, the point I'm trying to make is that instead of falling into the trap and avoiding, again, mental work by saying, oh, we cannot do these technologies, it's too complicated, we should together use our creativity and try to figure out ways how to create these new technologies that support creativity in each and every one of us. Thank you.
All right, Jaan, that was a super fascinating talk. I think it's very timely to what we're living. I have a question for you. In your book, you talk about ways to boost someone's creativity. You talk about the importance of some aspects of how to boost someone's creativity. So you had to give tips to the audience, since we're talking about creativity and how important it is to keep our brains fresh. What are some tips you can share with us?
Yeah, so some of them already were mentioned, right? You have to use this external creativity, read a lot, learn a lot, try to figure out things. The second is also, that was contained in the talk, is that, try to find your internal drive to do something. But then there are some additional things I didn't go into in this talk, which is that we usually assume that, the more you work, the more you achieve. However, we in science have shown that, sometimes good ideas come actually when you let it go. I mean, you have to do the work first, you have to study, you have to try to solve the problem. But if you get stuck, then instead of banging your head against it, it's fine to let it go, let your mind wander, take a shower, take a vacation, because good ideas, these big moments, they do happen when you are relaxing and taking time off.
So go for a walk, get enough rest.
It can be different things. Yeah, in English we say 3 Bs, so bath, bus, and bed, right? But it could be walking, for example. Beethoven was someone who used a lot of walking. It could be something different. So once I was asked whether it could be ironing. And here we see that it's not about what you do, but how you do it. Because if you iron like that, damn, why I have to iron these underpants? Of course you're not relaxing. Of course you're not letting your mind wander. But if this is a nice automatic thing you do and your mind is kind of wandering, then ironing can actually support creativity.
And there was another question from the audience in Votemo, which was about the UI interfaces that we meet every day. By making them more user-friendly, are they making us more lazy? Do we prefer interfaces like, I don't know, I'm not going to name brands here, but interfaces that make us go through hoops and loops to go through somewhere to make our brain more active?
It's clear that we need the technology to get us quickly through the simple stuff. Right? Where needed, that attention is brought to the right things quickly. We don't want to waste time on that. However, if we want to drive creativity, then the user interface also needs to prompt us to really to think and take the time for thinking at the right time and at the right place. That's what we need.
All right, everybody, big round of applause to Jaan. Thank you so much for sharing your insights.